word on China, because I know you look at that very, very closely, the data coming from there and the implications thereof. China has made some serious changes to what it has been doing for the last 12 months, in the last 2 months, and especially in the last few days as well. What do you make of all the moves that have happened in China and the resultant implications on commodities and on other economies, if you will?
Okay, so it's a great question. In the way I've been watching China for almost 24, 25 years as an analyst and been continuing to do that. The last 7 weeks, China's completely changed tack, completely.
Please explain.
And I don't think some markets have recognized it, but I think the policy side needs to recognize it too. So let me explain, right? 18 months, March 23 through July 24, China followed a policy of easy FX and tight money. So essentially, they let the currency go down and they neutralized the pain on inflation and anything else by using monetary policy. Since July 26th or 27, the FX appreciation game started. The Chinese yuan is more than 4.5% up since. And this is a big change, a huge change to do in 7 weeks. And what you normally do is when you have an FX tightening, you do a monetary easing, and they started the monetary easing last week, right? So you can see two legs happening, the entire change happening. I see other countries haven't done the same. So do I think India's behind the curve on this? Yes. Do I think Governor Das is going to look at this and say, yes, he needs to be following the same trajectory? I think so.
Okay. So, okay, let me just squeeze in that question and then I come back to the Chinese impact. But you reckon that by virtue of the fact that US easing cycle has begun, and that is to a lot of people a bit of a trigger as well for India, and the fact that China has done this leads to an October policy change?
I don't know whether it's October or December. In my humble opinion, you need to ease liquidity first before you cut rates. Okay, so all the interventions in the FX markets needs to pause. You need the rupee to appreciate at least 1% or 2%, and then you need because you have a problem of deposits in the system. So unless liquidity flows into the system and flushes the system, a rate cut might create other problems, and you need to do that. But essentially, if we're sitting 6 months from now, there has to be a significant easing cycle, and the RBI knows what best to do. You know, first, second, third, all that, they understand that well.
I'm sure they do. Okay, Jeetu, coming back to China, sorry, because I want to understand that. Now that there is a move that has happened, and people have been crying for months about how China is not making any kind of policy move, they've made a move. There has been a resultant impact in that the Chinese markets have done well, metals and commodities have done well, save for crude, but industrial metals have done really well. What happens next? And now that the first signs of the move have come, there might be more things that might happen, assuming that those happen as well. How do you see Chinese markets? How do you see commodity markets and the resultant impact of what China does in other markets happening over the next 2 months?
Okay, so let's first understand what's the problem in China. A lot of the problems in China are structural, right? You have a policy leadership that has issues of its own. There are battles within that. Two, the real estate sector has huge oversupply. Digesting that and cleaning up the system, and the deflation that's ensuing is a significant structural problem. It's going to take 5-7 years to solve. And the third, the collateral damage on the household balance sheet and confidence isn't going away. So the point is, and then on top of that, you have an export chain, in my view, which is going to see much more pressure in the coming quarter or two. And the only way you can do is throw more money into the system, create more domestic demand, and try and neutralize that pain. Now that's what I can see they're visibly doing, right? A 4% move on the FX plus monetary easing, and they hopefully kind of buffer the downturn, the pressure on the downside, right? How does this play out on your commodity markets? In my view, the demand is still very, very weak. Is the real estate sector going to structurally turn? Answers no. Is there a big upside there? Answers no. Is commodities going to be exported the hell out of globally? Yes, they're doing it. Is the world in great shape to absorb that? I don't think so. So this commodity move is a financial market move, in my humble opinion. Do I see volume changing in a big hurry? I don't think so. And it just wobbles around, and which is where I come into the high volatility market zone, right? So all of this, the pushes and the pulls of liquidity and real demand are going to create high volatility. Do we end at the same price 6 or 9 months from now? Very possible.